Good deal. All right, moving on to some brave lawmakers in Michigan who took the plunge for a very good cause. Unfortunately for them, the plunge was into a pool of cold water right outside of the State House yesterday.
All right, some of them got into it wearing penguin, Superman outfits maybe. Maybe the best was the guy who looked like he just arrived from the Oktoberfest celebration, and he didn't spill a drop of the beer.
And the temperature was 6 degrees when they're doing this. So think about this as they're waiting in the water there. But they raised about $30,000 for the Special Olympics event in Michigan, so totally worth it. And there he is, saving his beer.
He didn't spill a drop.
He's a pro. You can tell. Full
man.
suit. What a great fundraiser and a great cause.
No doubt about it. All right, coming up, why Oscar Sunday is serious business for host Ellen DeGeneres.
Well, as Keena just said, these temps have been bitter cold. We've been talking about it all week.
Right. I mean, when it's as cold here as it is in the Arctic Circle, that's a problem. But, you know, that certainly hasn't stopped the polar plunge lovers. They keep going at it all over the state. They call it the Legislative Polar Plunge. Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley was seen leading the way, along with nearly 30 other Michigan lawmakers jumping into a frigid pool on the Capitol lawn, joined by other jumpers. It was freezing, and they had, of course, a good cause to keep them warm. More than $30,000 was being raised to support Special Olympics athletes in Michigan.
Oh, great story. Keena, will that make you feel warmer once you get dried off?
No. No, it won't.
Back with more 7 Action News this morning right after this.
Weather and traffic on the 2.
Now at 6:52, some Lansing lawmakers taking the polar plunge to raise money for Special Olympics. Almost 24 leaping into the pool despite the extreme cold. It's close to 20,000 Michigan children and adults have disabilities. This is the 3rd annual plunge.
In Morning Talkers, a brave handful of lawmakers were out in the cold raising money for the Special Olympics yesterday.
Take a look. That is Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley in his best cannonball for Special Olympics. It was all part of the Legislative Polar Plunge yesterday. It took place in a frigid pool directly in front of the steps of the state capitol in Lansing. Calley was one of about 24 legislators who jumped into the icy waters to help raise money for the cause.
Organizers say the Legislative Polar Plunge has raised more than $50,000 for Special Olympics in Michigan over the last 2 years.
All right, we also hear a lot about partisan bickering between political leaders, but this morning we're pleased to show you some lawmakers from both parties coming together to suffer.
For a great cause. What'd you think of that cannonball? That was Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley. He led the charge as nearly 30 other lawmakers participated in the Legislative Polar Plunge. Some big local names included Representative Rashid Tlaib, Rudy Hobbs, Clint Casco, and Tim Grimmel. And we're told this year's Legislative Plunge raised more than $30,000 for the Special Olympics. They had raised nearly $80,000 over the past 3 years, so obviously, even though this is painful to watch, it's done some good in the community.
So cool. The Special Olympics do such a great job all over the country.
They do, yeah.
So glad to see that. I had a viewer say, hey, you know what? All of our politicians should be forced to sit in there and get deals done before they can get out.
Before they can get out.
You know, that would be one way to get them in a room together and give them a little incentive for compromise. Certainly on a morning like this, I think they'd be able to hash out a lot of things really quickly.
You would not recommend anyone jump in cold water outside today.
No, not if they like their digits. If you like your fingers, you should probably not do that. It's brutally cold.
Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley and a couple dozen other legislators jumped into an icy pool to help raise money for the Special Olympics. The 3rd annual Legislative Polar Plunge took place this week. It's one of 30 polar plunges happening from January through March. Proceeds go to support the year-round sports training and athletic competition for nearly 20,000 children and adults with intellectual disabilities who live in Michigan. Organizers say the Legislative Polar Plunge has raised more than $50,000 for the Special Olympics of Michigan over the last 2 years. That would be a tough deal this winter.
Yeah.
It's been a tough winter for the Polar Plunge.
Tough winter, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you do that?
No. Would you?
I don't know. Good cause. Good cause.
Michigan state lawmakers took a cold dip for charity. Take a look at this. They took a flying leap into a pool on Thursday right in front of the Capitol. The Polar Plunge was a fundraiser for Special Olympics Michigan. Even Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley and 20 state legislators participated, suit and tie and all.
Well, imagine jumping into an icy pool of water on top of the bitterly cold temps out there. Not something you want to do, but that is what our Michigan state lawmakers did in front of the Capitol yesterday. They did the whole thing for charity. Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, there you go, and 20 state legislators took a dip to raise money and awareness for Special Olympics Michigan. The participants raised some $30,000. At the time of the plunge yesterday, the thermometer read just 6 degrees.